Okay, remarkably already we've reached the Fans Pulse Lap 4, the final segment of podcast episode 7. A subject which I suspect is commonly talked about in the speedway bars, the length and breadth of the country and beyond. And I'm sure all of us have been involved in an equivalent conversation in the past. So we're going to have a bit of focus on team managers in Speedway. Top team managers. What makes a team manager perhaps more successful than others? Is it luck? Is it financial capability to put together an awesome team? Or is there much more to it than that? And I'm sure the guys have got some insight to help us get below some of that. So gents, undoubtedly over the years, there have been some master tactician team managers who are attributed with, being a little bit of a genius in terms of speedway tactics or rule book manipulation, dare I say, or whatever it might be. But so first things first, I'm going to come to you first. It's a difficult question to answer, probably, and you might even have mentioned one earlier tonight on another segment. But when you think about sort of genius or standout team managers, Crabby, either through first-hand experience or just observation, who might you think of?
Well, in my time, it's got to be Neil McFarlane at Glasgow, hasn't it? It was Brent, it was corrupt. everything what you could think of, Neil McFarlane was. But if it made
good evening, Neil.
That's what he did. Half of the things what went on were stage managed. Nobody knew, but he did it, didn't McFarlane, because he was entertainer. But he was also very good. He wanted to win. And I can remember in my time at Glasgow, I feel sure this was right. I'm not 100% on this. But in my first year at Glasgow, I came off at Middlesbrough and I was looking like being up for 6 weeks. And they were on for getting rid of me then. I had a little bit of a whisper, more than a whisper anyhow. Because McFarlane wanted to win. He wanted Glasgow to win. That's what he was set out to do. And there was on about getting rid of me and bringing Peter Carr in. Because obviously I was going to be out 6 weeks. Well, I heard it. So I cut the pot off my leg and I missed about 7 days. I missed one meeting because I won't let him get rid of me. But McFarlane was very, I don't know. And he backed the riders. Even when they knew the riders were wrong, he backed them. And any team manager, Cami will tell you this, and I'm sure Cami does this as well. He knows his riders are at fault, but he'll still back his riders, which is the way to go, isn't it? He'll be on the phone, blaming everybody else, Tom, Dick, and Harry. He certainly wasn't his man's fault. But you get a little bit of confidence in your team manager. And Neil McFarlane was very good at that. Stage managing things. Certainly when it was Edinburgh days, when Glasgow, Edinburgh, he was very good at that. And he backed his riders. What more can you say, really? I don't know if John Jews was very good at Stoke. He was quiet, was John, but he was an ex-rider and he knew how things were. And he was running it as well. It was his money that was running it. But he's very quiet, John, but great bloke. And he'd be another one. He'd back you with John. Even when he knew you were wrong, he'd still back you. He was a good man, John. Good man.
I was thinking, Nigel, the most criminal thing about Neil McFarlane surely was that perm that he had in the mid-90s. What an awful perm. Neil McFarlane, what were you thinking of? I sometimes see some old... Do you remember it, Neil? Do you remember it, Nigel?
He probably only had it done so everybody talked about him. Yeah. That's what McFarlane would do. Talking point.
Nigel, how many phones did he break at Sheffield in front of the fans?
Oh, smashed plenty of them.
Oh, God.
Cami, you'll know better than me on that one, but smashed plenty of them, didn't you?
Oh, sure
all looked good, though, didn't it?
Yeah, it was all stage stuff. It was brilliant.
Of course it was. Yeah. I can remember him, and I shouldn't tell you this one, really. This is going over the top of it. Do you remember many years ago, they had that did they have a 3-team tournament at the end of the season?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something now. It don't matter anyway, does it? My missus is saying, is this on record? Yeah, it is. Glasgow were looking like winning. I think the last leg was at Glasgow. The second leg was at Stoke. Glasgow were doing well. I wasn't riding, I were injured. And I can remember McFarlane coming up to me and saying, how much will Eric want to finish last in this race? Again, because he wanted Glasgow to win. So I think I told him maybe 150 quid. I had 50 quid and sent and gave him 100 Eric 100. But that's how it was in them days. That's how it was.
Yeah.
Stuart will have had plenty of that as well. He maybe won't have it, but he'll have had a few of them. And it's just, that's how it, because he wanted Glasgow to win, didn't he? And I think they did win. Did you win that, Cami?
Yeah, we did. We won it 2 heats to go, I think.
Was it this is a national series we're talking about, 1990?
Yeah.
I think I remember that. Yeah. So, but hey, you know, if that's what it cost, Glasgow won. Nobody knew until today. Only us. Now everybody in the world knows.
And Nigel, this is exactly why I say that disclaimer every week on this podcast. So don't you worry about it. Yeah.
Derek, 80,000 people know that fact now.
Robbo, you've had a few team managers to think about in your time. Any of those guys stand out in terms of being that little bit better or a little bit more of a genius than the rest?
I've got a couple of guys really there that stand out for different reasons. First of all, George English at Newcastle was part of the furniture up there. He was there forever, and he was so passionate about that club. And like the guys said, he would back you every time, and he would, you know, he was on your side, and he was Newcastle through and through. Always good, always great. Then you've got. I first met Eric Bucock in '96 properly as a team manager. Obviously, I knew who he was and whatnot before that, and I'd spoke to him. But he came to Middlesbrough, the old Middlesbrough, when I was there. And I started the season off at Coventry, got injured at Exeter, broke my collarbone, and then was dropped, and then went straight to Middlesbrough and had the rest of the season there. And he was brilliant, that guy. Absolutely brilliant. Such a good sense of humour as well. And I was fortunate he was with the team at Middlesbrough that year, and he went to Hull the following year when I was there. And absolutely brilliant. It kept just kept everyone laughing, and he was good. He was great. Always great to be around. And then there's the other one is Colin Pratt. I mean, there's not the other one. There's more than that. But Colin Pratt really stands out as well. I was with Colin a long time at Coventry. He brought me back to Coventry in 1998 and kept me there till 2004. End of 2004, we had a really dire season then. And then I went to Rye House after that. And the following 2005, Coventry won the league. After I left, we'd finished pretty much bottom of the league the 2004 season. But yeah, Colin, it was great. He was great to be around. If he said he would do something, he would do it. You know, if he whatever it was, if he was telling you because he was sort of promoting as well at the time, he would deal with you, and whatever he said, you could guarantee that was what you got. And he made sure you got every penny of your money when you got from every meeting. And he was brilliant. Always again good fun to be around. Didn't look good. He come across on TV quite miserable, but he wasn't. He was far from it. He was brilliant.
Any post-retirement yearnings, Robbo, to step into Speedway team management?
It's something I have thought about. It would be good to do. Yes, I definitely wouldn't say no. But I think if I was going to do something like that, I would have to shadow someone for a little bit first, because I've been out of the sport for a while, and I need to learn the rules again, you know, because there will be rule changes since I packed up. You know, I've only been a handful of times since I retired at the end of 2018, and things have changed a lot. Riders have changed, and tracks have changed. Rules will have changed, and it will be interesting to do. I would quite like to do it. Yes.
Nothing you couldn't pick up, Stuart Robson. They are. Listen, speedway clubs out there. If anyone might be interested in refreshing their team management, Cami, did you close your ears? Their team management structure. Then Stuart Robson is a candidate. Can I just congratulate you, Stuart Robson, as well? We've reached part 4 of episode 7, and you haven't mentioned Sunderland being promoted to the Premiership.
Oh yeah. That I'm not a big football fan, but I'm obviously I'm still from Sunderland, and I do like to see the team do well. But I've got to say, well done to Sunderland. They did well.
I teed it up well. Cami, listen, I know we're talking, Cami, it might be too close to home for you to comment very much, but you've heard what the guys have had to say. Yeah. Actually becoming a team manager, Cami, especially at a club that carries a bit of a high profile, as Glasgow does these days. It's completely changed from yesteryear. But if you don't mind me asking, Cami, how do you feel you've adapted to taking on that role? Do you now feel much more equipped than you did even a year or two back?
I think the first year, Derek, was difficult because I get kind of thrown in at very short notice without any idea that might happen. And it took me a year. By the time 2019 came, and I picked my first team, and we get so close to winning the league, as you know, we lost by a couple of points in the final. Kind of settled into the job, and I was looking back. The boys will remember this. I was looking back at a match just the other night on YouTube. It was Edinburgh down at Berwick a few years ago, and when a team went 10 behind, they could tactical substitute, and if they went 14 behind, they could do it again using black and white helmets. And there was so much more that a manager could do during a meeting to change the outcome, the overall outcome of the meeting. I mean, now I pretty much know when I need to make if I need to use a tactical substitute. Hopefully we don't need to use many of them this season, but if I do, I know when, and I know when to switch riders around and stuff, and I'm quite comfortable in that. But my big part of the team manager for me is trying to make the riders calm and happy prior to a meeting, and that's something I try and work on. And I have a good relationship with the boys, and it's not a fake relationship; it's a true relationship. And we try and make them. My main job is to get them all nice and calm and ready to race. I'm not one for saying you need to win this race. This is super important. They know how important it is. They know what it means to the club. They know what it means to us. And I wouldn't ask a rider to do anything silly. They all know how much we want to win. But I leave that part of that to them. I just try and get them in a good kind of spirit. But our current team at Glasgow, I mean, you're talking about captains. There's Nigel sitting there, I think, and I'm not just saying it because he's sitting there. I get asked all the time as Glasgow team manager, who's your best 1 to 7 for Glasgow? And Nigel's one of the 1 to 7 I'd have in my team. And I tell everyone that. Anyone who knows me will tell you that. And who would be captain of my team? Nigel. Because I look back at his time at Glasgow and the difference that he made in a very good team. But he brought that professionalism, that desire to will to win. In our current Glasgow team, I've got 3 captains. I've got Chris Harris, I've got Kyle Howard, I've got Leon Flint. And it makes life easier for me because I've got 3 boys who, in their own way, are captains in their own right. And, encourage the other boys as well, as well as I do. So that's also a little bit of a secret that I think we have at Glasgow. We've got, such good boys behind the rest of them to help the encouragement and to keep their heads up when they're maybe not doing so well. And that's a big part of team management for me. But first and foremost, it's picking your initial team. That's something that's very important. Obviously, it goes without saying. But having the right guys in the team is vital, absolutely vital.
The Nigel, still held in such high esteem and by Cami and myself. I've tried to flatter you in recent weeks as well. So, I'm glad something you mentioned, Cami, which I'm pleased that you did. Back in the day, I think the team managers had a bit more ability to directly influence a meeting outcome or the scoreline because there was more tactical manoeuvres available to them. That's become less, I think, is the case, and much more now. It's the behind the scenes stuff. It's the man management stuff and the team spirit, etc. that we've talked about already, and just generally keeping the riders happy, right? Happy and pleased to be there.
That's the bit, Derek, I really enjoy. To be fair, You know, since my time as team manager, I've been lucky. We've won a lot more matches than we've lost. But as you know, and I've said this to you before in other interviews, I always remember the ones we lose. We've won far more than we've lost. But it still means the world to me to get the club, successful, to make the club successful, because I'm still a fan at heart. That will never change, and that's important to the right people that do the job, that want the club to be successful. If you never get, look at Neil Middleditch at Poole. We talked about them earlier on. And Neil wants total success, as the club does, and that's the kind of people you want as team manager for your club. The ones that want the club to win. It hurts me when they lose. It still hurts me just as much as it did in 2018 when I started doing the job. And that's something. If I lose that, I won't want to be a team manager anymore. I certainly wouldn't want to be a Glasgow team manager, because it means the world to me.
Yeah, understood.
It's been my club since I was a wee boy.
Yes, you and me both, Cami. That was a long time ago. So there you are. I'm just thinking it would be a little bit remiss of me just not to mention just a couple of guys who, over the years, I think their profile and success earns them the right to be mentioned. So Neil Middleditch has had a few mentions tonight, and there's undoubted that Neil's been associated with club success. Pete Adams at Wolverhampton over the years, and even going back a bit further, a man who I was lucky enough to spend some time with, albeit now nearly 20 years ago, John Berry, who was a big fish when Speedway was a much bigger sport in profile terms back in the 70s down at Foxhall Way, and of course he went on to be England's team manager as well. So there are 360 Speedsters at the end of another podcast. Hopefully you've enjoyed some more thoroughly enjoyable conversation. I know I've thoroughly enjoyed it, as I do week on week. I hope that's the case with you too. If we have been remiss and we've missed out, and I'm sure we have, a particularly favourite or notable team manager who you would like to give a nomination to, please do that. Please post under this output on social media or on YouTube. So that just about does us tonight, gents. Thank you as ever for your time, your input and your brain power. I really enjoyed it. I hope you have too. 360 Speedways, enjoy your weekend. Get trackside, cheer on your team, be loud and proud. Have a good week, look after yourselves. Hope to see you next week. Thank you, bye bye.